Back in the day, I was standing outside the Republican National Committee, and right there on the stair steps and getting ready to go to lunch, dressed up in my suit and my tie. And look there, there's Jake Tapper, standing on the footsteps of the Republican National Committee with the camera crew. This was back when he worked at ABC. And I walked over to Jake, and I said, Jake, sorry to interrupt you. I wanted to thank you. I've not been able to discern your ideology as you've been on ABC News. I appreciate that. And he shook my hand, and he said, I don't think there's a greater compliment a reporter can receive. Thank you. What happened? What happened to Jake Tapper? Because there was a time where that was true. I mean, I guessed that he was liberal because he worked in the news media, but what happened to him? Can I tell you what happened to him? He got paid money to make some changes. And guys, I don't want to play the game where I'm the one honest man in media, because I'm not. There's a lot of honest people in this business. But I'm here to tell you that there are plenty of conservative opinion makers who have been told, we need you to make some changes in your opinions. And some of them fought it, and they lost big time. Some of them fought it and then eventually gave in, and they won big time. But in the game of the level that Jake Tapper is playing, you can see the changes. Look at my friends, former friends. I mean, I still consider him a friend. I haven't talked to him in years. Michael Steele, who has gone insane. And he's now going to be taking the place of Joy Reid at MSNBC. What happened? In my judgment, and I should try to reach out to Michael, and maybe he'd talk to me, maybe he'd even come on the show. I think he got paid, and he started to say some things to get some airtime, and there's craziness that happens to people. They'll start to say things to get airtime. I know if I'm a little bit anti-Trump, I know if I question, I'm going to get some airtime, and then you start to question him more, and you get this airtime. I've seen this myself. When President Trump ran the first time, I'm embarrassed to say I bought into some of the hype against him. And gosh, it was so easy for me to go get on liberal big radio shows. Because they'd want, hey, here's a conservative, and he thinks, and you get into this cycle of, oh my gosh, I'm getting all these rewards. So Jake Tapper goes to CNN, and the culture at CNN is this: we are a full-on liberal network. So Jake, I think, starts to make these little tiny sellouts. Well, I'll say this, and I don't really believe it, but I'll offer this, and then I'll hint at this opinion, and then here's what doesn't happen. None of his friends come to him and say, what are you doing? You're all of a sudden, you're selling out the journalist you were. No one does that. Because in the business of New York media, everybody eventually sort of sells out to some degree, some of them all the way. So imagine my surprise when I'm doing show prep one morning, and there is this thing from Jake Tapper, and it's called Original Sin, and I look at this and I say, are you kidding me? And I'll tell you what this is about, and then we're going to go through some things that Jake Tapper said, some things he didn't say. In fact, we're going to play a clip twice because I think it's so important. It's important to look at the details and the history of what people do, and look at your own personal history about something, and we'll get into the Jake Tapper stuff. Look at your own history with the use of a horrible, terrible, awful drug. That's ibuprofen. Just do a quick memory check. When did it used to be just one tablet, then it became two, and then if you were like me, it became 3 and 4 before bed, and sometimes 2 in the morning? Like, honestly, be honest with yourself. Now, if that's inflammation related, there's some things you can do naturally to take care of that, and one of those things is to make sure that you stop eating sugar. And I know that there's about 85% of the people in the audience who just laugh. Dude, I'm not going to stop eating sugar. I'm not crazy like you. Okay, you don't have to, but the inflammation's not going to go away. If you're going to choose to fight it, don't use ibuprofen. Why? Because it causes inflammation. Pharma's evil, but they're brilliant. Yeah, we'll take away the symptoms while we cause the disease. Instead, go to Native Path Antarctic Krill. In a study, it revealed that 28% of people had no signs of inflammation in a period of weeks. Another study showed a 60% decrease in blood clots. Why? Because it helps with blood flow. It helps restore metabolism. It gets rid of inflammation, like the swelling in the joints, the swelling in your feet, the joint pain. And it does all of this naturally while it helps boost your immune system. Comes from the cleanest waters in the world right off the Antarctic coast. It's Native Path Antarctic Krill, 2 soft tabs every night. Go to getkrill.com/Todd. That's getkrill.com/Todd to find out what specials they have for you. Getkrill.com/Todd. So there I am doing show prep in the morning, and this pops up, and it's Jake's book. Original Sin, President Biden's Decline, Its Cover-Up, and his disastrous choice to run again, Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson. Alex comes from Axios. This is coming up May 20, 2025 from Penguin Press. And I looked at that, and I tweeted back because it was from Jake's channel. Well, Jake, I can't wait to not read this book since you were involved in the cover-up. Think of this. And we could just go to the tape. We can go to Jake Tapper, and I want you to guess. Take a wild, flaming guess of how he decided to respond to charges that were sometimes cheap fakes. Do you remember that attempt? My favorite of the cheap fakes was where Biden was standing there at an event that was honoring World War II, the fallen in France, and all the world bosses are there, and they're getting ready for a photo op. And I'm not making fun of dementia and cognitive decline and Parkinson's, which he probably has, but I'm making fun of the media. The man is supposed to be for a photo op, and he goes, oh, look at that. There's a shiny animal carrying another animal. I think it's my son, Bo. And he starts to walk. Bo, is that you? And some world boss, I think it was the president of France, tries to bring him back over. Are you Billy the gardener? No, I'm the president of France. There is no France. And they draw him back in line, and we're told it's a cheap fake. There's no sign of cognitive decline. Jake Tapper is writing a book about the cover-up. Is it going to begin with, here's when I decided to sell out? Man, that'd be a great book. I mean, can you imagine how interesting that would be? If Jake Tapper wrote a book, Original Sin, the moment I decided to stop being a journalist. So here's Jake responding to the cheap fake, the disinformation, and a lot of it came from Putin. Because Putin hates kids who stutter.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
you have
to watch somebody on stage
that's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
But when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter.
Yeah,
I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked
is
about
that
a cognitive decline.
That Joe Biden
I have one last question for you, Laura. You can't
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel sorry for Joe Biden.
Oh, the smirk, the smirk, the smug smirk. Man, you know what? I was getting all up in my flesh. Did you see that? I wanted to strike the man. God forgive me. God forgive me. I shouldn't be wanting to strike guys. We had no signs. It was in, I think, Detroit, where they were showing off an electric semi, which, by the way, doesn't work in the snow. And Joe Biden's and electric school buses, which have never been deployed. And Joe Biden's there, and he's talking to one of the people who makes the buses and trucks. Do you remember this? I'm back in before college, before I was head of Roger Staubach as the quarterback. You don't know this, but I used to drive an 18-wheeler. And you hear in the background, press, and they're starting to pull him away. He never drove an 18-wheeler. And there are those of us watching this. Jake Tapper watched this. Then you look at the temper. A town hall, a guy asks a question about Hunter Biden and corruption. And what does he get from Joe Biden? Shut up, fat! Let's have a push-up contest. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to get in trouble. Jake Tapper, you covered this up. You covered up so much. Savannah Hernandez, a journalist with Turning Points USA, she was asking Jake Tapper some questions.
I'm here with CNN. I can't get very close to them because their security guard is blocking me. But we've got Jake Tapper here. We've got Chris Wallace. We also have Dana Bash. Now, I've been asking them why they have been lying to the American public about the mental decline of Joe Biden. None of you guys would like to respond to that at all? No? Dana, you're a very respected journalist. Jake, not so much respected. People listen to you still. Would any of you guys like to respond to Joe Biden's cognitive decline and why you guys lied to the American people about it for so long?
Penguin Press is deciding to publish this guy's book because victims of the Mockingbird beta are going to buy this, and then they're going to come back and say, the media covered that. Can we just play it one more time? Just Jake Tapper and his unbelievably smug attack on Laura Trump. Can I hit this? Okay.
Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You have no.
I
can't. It's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Yes, the man said multiple times that Kamala Harris was the president. It's my honor to introduce Kamala Harris. He couldn't remember Barack Obama's name. Jake Tapper, do you read yourself? Do you even hear yourself? My goodness gracious. I wonder what it's going to be like when you are on your deathbed. And I hope you go to the Lord Jesus. But I wonder if you, as you die, are going to remember that moment you really decided to sell out.